Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 9 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. It is 5:34 p.m. UK time on Friday, October the 24th. We are 56 minutes away from the Gameweek 9 deadline. And as per usual, I'll be going through as many of your FPL questions as I can between now and the 6:30 p.m. UK time deadline. Please check graphics because the answer to your questions may well be on screen. My team is top right hand corner. I have made a transfer. Timber is in for Porro. One other free transfer rolled. 0.2 in the bank. 528k overall. I'm lining up this week. Perry, Timber, Virgil van Dijk, Gabriel. I'm not bothered about that flag. I'll tell you that now. That'll answer half the questions. Semenyo, Dewsbury Hall, Fernandez, Gakpo, João Pedro Vaz, Haaland captain, Jared Bowen on the bench for Bruggen, Wan-Bissaka, Josh King, Ezri Konsa. You'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams, bottom right-hand corner. Correct score predictions for all 10 games rotated with my top 10 captaincy preference order. It's Haaland over Salah. Same old, boring. All the flag players, the next 5 fixtures for all 20 teams runs across the bottom ticker. And above that and directly below me, you will see the benching dilemmas where there are 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order left to right, pages 1 to 4. And you will find some goalkeepers on page 5. That is now rotating for you. Right, let's do the questions. Best of luck, everyone. Remember, play it your way. Greg says, hi James, Esteval owner, worth taking out for a hit, Bruno or Salah? Question, other midfielders, Casado, Gordon and Saka. We can take a hit from Esteval to Salah. That's an interesting start to the stream, mate. Does he start? It's debatable with Esteval, but there'll be minutes there, mate. We'll take a hit to move him out. Good fixture. Probably a no, and you'll find free transfer next week to Salah. Dragon Yosiowski, go Rangers to Enzo now or play him / Anderson, Nottingham Forest and move to Son next week on a game week 13 wildcard. Cheers. If it's Fernandez, it's now. If it's Sarr, it's next week. If you don't have any other Palace coverage, I think there might be a little bit of an influence of that. With Enzo, I've wanted him as well. And I might come back to him in game week 11. But I do wonder quite a bit, the more I've thought about it this afternoon, if there's a lot of, I want Chelsea, they've got great fixtures and I don't know what to buy. I'll pick the one that I know is definitely going to play. And it's felt like that for a while. And it's not to say he's not a good asset. I've really considered him as well. But I think if we remove fixtures, and I just said to you, right, Sarr, Enzo, Fernandez, just remove fixtures, remove strategy, remove everything. What are you saying? Sarr, I think. Vivek Gore says, hi James, would you take a -4 for Kudus to Enzo? Here we go. I've already used my free transfers to set up for the bench boost this week. For free, I'd happily consider that because it's bomb out Tottenham players at this stage. But for a -4, I'm going to say no because if Tottenham do have a good day, Kudus will have to play well. King of Mandalore says, Foden to Enzo, tick. Romero to Burn or Munoz. Can sell Tarkovsky to Munoz next week anyway, plus Burn better fixture this week. Would probably keep Tarkovsky over Burn in game week 10 if I buy Munoz this week. So hang on, you'd probably keep Tarkovsky over Burn in 10 if you buy this week. So you're saying no to Munoz? I mean, if you think ultimately, if you're in a situation where you've got Romero, right, and he's injured, and he's not going to play, and you think Munoz is going to be the better long-term solution, then buy him. That's my take. Hasselbank is win says, thoughts on Hearts and Tony Bloom this season, James, and will you have half an eye on Sunday? Also best 2 4.0s, 4.1 defenders. I think Hearts might be playing Celtic at the weekend, but I don't factually know that. Is it on Sunday? Wouldn't know, mate. We'll have half an eye on it, mate. I won't even have my eyes closed on it, to be very honest. But I wish Hearts the best of luck. It's nice to see them up there and doing well. Scage0219 says, got 0.2 in the bank and 1 free transfer. No Arsenal defence. And backline is Porro, Virgil van Dijk, Konsa, Alderete and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Should I roll and wait till next game week to free funds, plus aim for someone like Gabriel or Munoz? There's a case to say maybe yes. Wan-Bissaka's fixture's not terrible this week. You got 0.2 in the bank, so you can't really go anywhere. Shit. I would, in your position, depends. If you got a wild card soon, I'd prefer it more. I was going to say Poro to Chalobah, maybe, because that'll open up a little bit of money maybe for you as well. But yeah, if you're not sure, it's probably a roll, mate. I do think Palace will score this weekend, with or without Gabriel. D.80 says, hi James, happy Friday, mate. I've been holding on to Cunha due to other fires in my team. Start him or take a -4 for Enzo, and finally start Vic or Dubravka. In terms of -4, Cunha to Enzo Fernandez, I think that's like a pause, isn't it? Cunha back in the team last week. Fixture is okay. No, I mean I wouldn't do that for free at the moment, personally. Giacomo Zambioni says, hi James, sell Fraud Brielle on bench boost or just chance it. I love you. I love you too, Giacomo. No, just play bench boost, mate. How is that Fraud Brielle? I mean, pretty good asset. Harsh to call him a fraud. He'll probably play, won't he? Like Arteta said, like, we'll see how he trains. Okay. The game's not till Sunday. This is very, very simple, guys. If Gabriel trains tomorrow, he'll play on Sunday. If he don't train tomorrow, he probably won't play on Sunday. Okay? They've got Carabao Cup next week. If he's 80%, he probably plays. He's going to want Gabriel against Mateta. I think he'll probably play. I have no intel on that. I don't know nothing. I don't have no connection. I'm telling you that the likelihood is he'll probably train tomorrow and he'll probably play. And Arteta's not lying. He probably is telling, train this week. Might have given him a few days off for all we know. JP says, like the idea of either Mateta or Voltamari, but can you help me come to conclusion, please? Yeah, if you're buying this week, Voltamari. If you're buying next week, Mateta. Billy Taylor says, Wagwan J. Lins, I need a dirt cheap striker for 1 week who would then chill on my bench for the rest of time. Who scores more this week out of Guru and Krupi Jr.? Fancy Krupi Jr.'s minutes a little bit more, so I would guess probably analytically that would be the right answer. However, the danger with Krupi Jr., believe it or not, is probably if you've got Senesi and Semenyo, if suddenly something else shows up good from Bournemouth, you're blocked. You probably aren't actually going to be blocked with Chelsea. So maybe that should be a consideration in your thinking. If you want to go to a 2-striker or 1-striker setup and you want to get one of those guys in, you're happy to leave it dead, fine, be my guest. If it was me, personally, because I'm not on the Senesi train, I'd be going Krupi Jr. Harry Delap, we think is going to play for Chelsea in midweek by the sounds of it. Harry Baker says, hi James, who would you start out of, Esteve or Konate? Also one from Paquetá or Mr. João Pedro Mateta. Jean-Pierre Mateta. I'd play Mateta. I've put him top of the bench and dilemmas just to kind of make a point. And that's against Arsenal. You know I sit here every week about Arsenal and how good they are. I'd play Konate of the two, mate. Patrick says, just got home from work and overheard Jim White dropping some breaking news that those who fail to like the stream will lose their wild card. Well, I can't like it, Patrick. What's going to happen to me? He does say, though, it's huge if it's true. Alas, do you prefer Burn or Chalobah? Thanks. Now, you've got to remember, guys, with me, you're answering questions and I'm only looking at players on a really short-term basis at the moment. I think Burn is probably a good long-term hold with Newcastle. I'm not sure Chalobah is. So, what are you looking for? Short term, long term? Short term, I'm going Chalobah. I'll chance it. Long term, probably Burn. Kovkin says, hi James, hope you're doing well. Just got Enzo for Foden. 1 free transfer left. Should I get Chalobah for VDV or get somebody for Reinders? If so, who? Good luck, everybody. Don't forget to smash like button. Now, so you're considering Chalobah in for VDV, right? So it's possibly going to take away 0.5 or so from your bank. I don't know what Reinders would potentially get you next week instead. Can you hide Van der Ven long term? I don't think that's quite a straightforward answer. Van der Ven's Chalobah is fine. If you're going from Reinders and you're saying, if so, who? Well, it's straightforward, isn't it? It's Chalobah, isn't it? But if it's going to cut you off going, say, to Saar next week, then I wouldn't do it. Kieran Murphy says, hi James, on wildcard 13, would you bring in Saliba or Timber for Poro this week? I've gone Timber, mate, so that's the way I've gone. I just think there's a slightly more upside on it. So a little bit more danger in it as well, though. FPL Eze says, hi James, bench boost active with Dubravka, Esteve, Diouf and Keenan, Dewsbury Hall. With the Gabriel news, do I hold off on bench boost as wasn't too confident with it anyway? If you're not confident, fine. But I dare you to find a better week with double Burnley defence between now and game week 19 because I'm not sure that you will. Hiradi Majumba says, hello, James. I have one free transfer. Would you transfer Rodgers to Enzo and bench Reinders? I am already starting João Pedro and Gu, so I'll end up having triple Chelsea attack, or do I roll? Prefer a roll. It's the sort of fixture that Rodgers might do okay in, actually. And then you still don't like it next week. Rodgers goes to Liverpool. Okay, Sarr. Declan Rice, another alternative maybe. Yankuba Minter, I think, will look more interesting this time next week. Tanky says, afternoon, James, on wildcard 9. Thoughts on Sarr versus Mateta. Mateta's shit finishing could be caused by the fixture overload for Palace, but Sarr isn't getting that as many chances as him. I mean, of the two, if you're just asking me a Mateta versus Sarr, Mateta all day long. Michael Radley, hello, my friend, says, hi, mate, got 2 free transfers. Think to do Reinders to Enzo. Tarkovsky to a 4.5 to fund it. Prob Keane stay invested in Everton defence. Do you like this move? And if so, is there another 4.5 you prefer to Keane? No, it's kind of covered earlier on the weekender. That's fine. I'm not a huge lover of sideways moves like that, but he's putting $1 million in your bank and you think that you're upgrading, Michael. So, yeah, fine. Sean says, hi, James. Who to bench from DCL, Minter and Rodon? It's currently Rodon. Yep, moving on. Dragon Yosiyowski says, got both Romero and Anderson. Who do I get rid of first? Is either of them likely to be back for the international break? In theory, judging by the news today, they might both be back next week. But I know which one I'd be cutting first is Romero, mate. Under that circumstance, you'd be gutted if you sell Anderson. He's got Wolves at home next week. Noah McNevin says, hi, James. Thoughts on a bench boost this week with Gabriel potentially injured? Yep. Delete your questions, guys. You got that. I don't know anything. I know people take words kind of literally sometimes, but we've been here before. It's not like I'd be more concerned if they're playing Palace tomorrow, so he hasn't trained today. You'd be like, shit. If he trains tomorrow, he'll play. They also don't have a big game next week. Yes, they've got Brighton in the cup. He probably wasn't going to play that anyway, right? It's an ideal opportunity to give some minutes there to Hincapie and Mosquera, you would think. JP says, like the idea of either Mateta or Voltemade, but can you help me come to a conclusion, please? Yeah, I just did that, mate. Staffy says, should I start the Bravka or Pope? Pope, mate. Pope, yeah. I mean, Newcastle home game. It's not many times you probably would want to go against that. Also, I went Richards and Lacroix on wildcard 7 as a cheaper version of double Arsenal defence. And the game's from 10. What do you think? It's early, but thinking about Munoz, Timber. You've chosen your bed, so lie in it at the moment. I wouldn't rush to be putting Munoz in this week, so it's a next week, see how you feel. You get what you pay for, I think, in this game, most of the time, and Munoz, I think, is worth the extra. But it doesn't mean the other assets are bad, not at all. Richards is a great little 4.5 option. Frederick Hertz says, besides double Arsenal defence, I have Murillo, Tosin and Konsa and 0.9 in the bank. Who do I sell and where do I go? Or do I chance Tosin relatively short-sighted? I have a theory, which, forgive me, one of our Chelsea patrons mentioned earlier in the week, that Adebayo could well play through a little bit of concern about Sunderland's aerial threat on set plays. Therefore, Adebayo and Chalobah, that hence my predicted Chelsea lineup that will spin round in a sec, is the prediction. So I'd be comfortable with that. Murillo will play. I think Forest might even do all right this weekend. Konsa's shite. I've got sitting there doing absolutely nothing, but I also recognise that Murillo freeing up that money would be very, very useful for you. But at double Arsenal defence, Tosin, all right this week. You're not sure where to go. Meh. I'd be tempted, what we just discussed, Murillo to Keane, put $1 million in the bank. I mean, you're then looking at Konsa and Munoz next week, for example, right? Not that you need to do that, what you got in the bank, but you completely reshape that, can't you? Scadge0219 says, is Gordon a headache until wildcard game week 13? His Premier League returns this calendar year a shocking. Cheers. You're not moving it if you've got it, mate. Simple as that. Rotterdam Tourist Board says, is it time for Isak to go and spread funds? Thinking Isak to Mateta, Reinders to Enzo, and VDV to Timber for free. Means I'm then stuck with only one Palace, but don't want to bring in Munoz this week. Yep, fine. Isak, I've been consistent in saying this. Let's have a discussion about Isak in Game Week 12. It's going to be a pain in the arse between now and then. And that was my opinion weeks ago. Dazar9 says, hi James, who would you play at Casado or Van Dijk this week? Van Dijk. Daniel Evans says, hi James, give the stream a like, people. Mamadashvili or Dubravka? Still Liverpool on it. Mamadashvili, mate. Steamroller, hello legends. Who should I bench boost with Gabriel or sell him? Yes, just crack on. Guys, if you come into a deadline stream and you're expecting panic, you've got the wrong stream. Dads are, I've done Daniel Evans, I've done Avinash, sorry mate, Saar versus Krupi. Whom should I start? I mean, under that circumstance, in the position where you've got Krupi, I would want to play him this week, so Krupi. Stuart Day says, good afternoon, sir. No question this week. I'm rolling. Thanks for the content. Smash a like. Hashtag play it your way. Cheers, mate. Smash a like, people. Doesn't cost anything. I would be very grateful. Let's see them hearts going up the chat. Next up says Jack Tasker. Hi, James. Bench boost this week, but I have Gabriel. Here we go. This is, guys. It's gonna be a little bit repetitive. I think you can delay it, right? And then, what, this happens again? And we just leave it be. Anyway, he says, assuming which 5.2, I love it. You've even said yourself, Jack, assuming he plays. Yeah. Which 5.2 defender would you bring in for bench boost? Already have 3 Chelsea, Bournemouth. For God's sakes, can I just say, please don't sell him. I don't think that's what you're asking, Jack, but just for clarity. The answer's going to be the same. Michael Caine. As covered on the weekend earlier today. Danny Burns says, thoughts on Tarkowski to a champion to enable Rangers to Enzo. Appreciate Tarkowski is good for DEFCON and minutes, but prob's not a certain start for me for the next 4 or 5 game weeks. I'd start him this week if I owned him, mate. I considered champion a lot because at 3.9, he's like, But I was considering him as coming in for Consa. Right, Consa's kind of like dead to me in my team anyway. So you think, oh, that adds me 0.6. I'm not sure I'd be going for someone like Tarkowski to him personally. Jeremy says, thoughts on Richarlison? I'd rather not. And if he's a must transfer out. No, let's not say must transfer out. I think he'll play, but I've also said that to you for the last 2 weeks as well, and he hasn't. But I do think he'll start Sunday. Do I think he'll do anything? No. I'd be looking to move that on. Ben Hardaway says, hi, James. Hope you're well, mate, and enjoyed everything in Monaco, barring the 90 minutes. Pretty much. Christ knows how Tottenham escaped with a draw. Agreed. This week, would you play Rangers or Rodgers? Top stuff, mate. Just about Rangers, I think. Just ultimately still in the City team and potential to break forward, right? So, yeah, just about Rangers. I think City will win, so that's influenced that. Remember, Rodgers had a good day against City in this fixture last year, and we predicted it, but I don't quite have that confidence in it this time. City are in a better position now than when they went to Villa in, I want to say, December last year. Sean G says, hi, James. Hope you're well. Bench one of Munoz, Watkins, Tosin, or Reinders. Smash a like, people. Gosh. With reluctance, Daniel Munoz. Dan says, clearly you don't know, but what's your instinct on Gabriel starting? Next question. Sam Emerson says, evening, James. Got 1 free transfer left. Joachim Anderson's out and Gabriel's a doubt. Any love for Lacroix to Chalobah, currently on Triple Palace double defence. Not loving the defence numbers. Would allow for Saar in 10. So you're on double defence and don't want that. Okay, I understand that. Fixtures are really good, though, obviously, from next week. Here's the thing, Sam. This is reality. Sorry, this is a bad answer, but it needs to be said. You could go Lacroix to Chalobah and Chalobah don't play. I think he plays. There's no reason for me not to, but reality is Chalobah is as likely not to play this weekend as Gabriel. I'm not sure for me, mate. Not sure. Simon B says, hey, James, Van Dijk or Goodmanson, Stack or Reinders? The players playing for teams who might win the title, no disrespect meant to Leeds, but, you know, might win the championship again next year. I'm joking. They're doing well. Anish Nakra says, 4 free transfers. Oh, my God, there's lots of words. Planning Enzo and Saka for Reinders and Stack. Need funds. Jokeris to Krupi and Tarkowski to a 4.4 defender who's put Van Heck in brackets. Need 0.1 million for João Pedro to Mateta next game week. Next game week, current defence, Gabriel Senesi rode on, worth the moves. The only thing I've lost is the will to live, mate. Enzo Saka for Rangers Stack. Okay, fine. What you could do here, possibly, is not go for Enzo, Just leave Reinders there at the moment and feel a lot more comfortable about life and not having to be, I need to go Van Heck when there's like someone at 0.1 more who I've already mentioned who I think will be pretty good for probably the next 10 game weeks or so. Sam says, hi James, which one of Rodon or Goodmanson would you go for? Twanzabi? Rodon. Alex MJ87 says, hi James, would you rather Semenyo or Gyökeres? Not had Semenyo all season. 2 frees to switch. Do you prefer Gu or Krupi for 1 week, then bench? Already got João Pedro. If I didn't own Antoine Semenyo at this moment, I would be working on a pathway to put him in my team for game week 12 and be leaving it for the moment because let's be honest, it's hurt pretty bad. How much worse can it get? Well, it could get worse, but there'll be better assets over the next 3 game weeks. We can make a gain on that, I think. Krupi's the answer. Murphy says, hey James, Gab is a headache as my bench defenders are Romero and Alderete. Plan was Reinders, Romero and Alderete to King, Timber and Richards for exact money next week. Do I roll or go early this week? Okay, let's just think about this logically, right? What's the reason not to go Romero to Richards now? If that's what you know that you're doing, there's no reason not to go to Romero to Richards now. So most cases would be like, okay, don't buy the Palace player now. But clearly, Romero is useless to you this week. Richards might get you something as a little bit of cover. So just do that, mate. Ross Mitchell says, evening, James. Play one of Mateta, Munoz, Gay, or Anderson. Mateta. Daz R9 says, triple captain Haaland next week home to Bournemouth. He got lucky v Burnley, and Bournemouth will attack City. They could get ripped apart. Do you think it's a viable option? Everything's viable in this game, Daz, but it'd be game week 13 or 15 for me. Frederick Hurt says, hit the button, lads and girls. Andrei Svitrojovsky says, hi, James, best defender for Newcastle. I'm thinking about Botman. Please give me a clue because I'm thinking all day. Thanks and good luck. Go for a walk. Spending all day thinking about Newcastle defenders. There's got to be better things you can do with your life. Burn is the safest way to go, mate. It's no frills. AJ says, hi James, who should I bench between Reinders and Dewsbury Hall? Reinders. I mean, I'm playing Dewsbury Hall and I'm kind of down on Tottenham at the moment, as you can probably tell. But I'm not high on Dewsbury Hall at all, personally. Steve Phipps says, bench one, Senesi, Tosson, Rodon. Tossing something else, mate. Rodon. Bertica says, hey, James, I have to start either Dubravka and Estev or Sells and Milenkovic this week. Which two? Cheers, mate. Well, why do you have to do that? You could go one of each, but I'd go with the Burnley pair. Andy Max says, no question this week, James. Just want to wish you good luck for the game week and hit the like, folks. Thank you very much. We have 33 minutes from deadline. The reminder to our patrons, drop us a tag on Slack. If we've got any information going around that's reliable, please double check sources. You know, if like something weird's happened, like Arsenal posted all their photos from training today and Bukayo Saka wasn't spotted in any of them. That's a real thing, by the way. So why didn't Arteta mention Saka today? He's playing games with you all. Next up is... I don't know. Tanky. Thoughts on Gakpo and Wildcard? No. So I own and was probably in a position where I thought he was going to go. He's had a good couple of weeks. His minutes feel secure over the next 2. There is a case to say that over the long term, he might be the kind of safest Liverpool attacker to go for. I'd probably rather revisit that in a couple of weeks though and chance my arm on something else between now and 12. Maybe even... No, I was going to say something like Trossard. I don't mean that. Yeah, you wouldn't go Enzo to Gakpo 12. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'd rather you pushed up for a United player actually at the moment, like Bumo. Kieran Singh says, hi James, start the Dubravka or Pope. Best FPL channel out there. Smash a like, people. Thank you, Kieran. Dan Marston says, hi James, was all set to bench boost, but have Gabriel. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Bench boost, Dubravka, Goodmanson, Rodon and Krupi. Tempted to play it anyway. Welcome your thoughts. You don't need my thoughts, Dan. You already know. Good luck. Christoph Toda says, hi James, would you buy a Chalobah or James? Chalobah. Yeah. I think it's the safest Chelsea centre-back of the lot at the moment. Reece James also feels pretty safe at the moment. And by the way, is a certain starter this week, you would think, with Gusto suspended. But then I'd urge you to go and look at the team that Chelsea picked at Brentford when they drew 2-2. But actually, with the week Chelsea have had, Carabao Cup next week, Reece James is near certain starter. But unfortunately, we know, right? You know, yeah. Let's hope that Reece James stays fit. Sean Buckley says, easy rude boy. Who gets more point this week, Krupi or DCL? DCL, because Krupi will get subbed off after 59 minutes and Calvert-Lewin will probably make it to 90, but blank. Hassan says, transferred Ekiteke and Marlon for Foster and Foden, captain Pedro. Please tell me I'm an idiot. You're an idiot. You're not. You play it your way, mate, but you asked. Another Hoot says, evening, mate. Please ignore if this is on dilemmas. Would you play Kudus over Rangers this week? Thanks and best of luck. Hit that like, guys. Yes, I would. Again, it's just if Tottenham have a good day, and it's not like I'm down on us, but it's not like we can't go to Everton and win, or we can't, smash and grab like 1-0 from a set play, and he might be involved in it, right? Like I said, if we have a good day, he'll probably be involved somewhere. Whereas City could have a great day at Villa and Rangers still misses, and we've seen a lot of that recently, right? So yeah, I would play Kudus. AG29 says, hi James, start Porro, Hartman of Burnley. Who more likely to hit DEFCON? Neither of them. If Everton end up going quite direct, maybe, but I think Porro up against Grealish, probably not. But in any case, even in spite of my predictions today, I would go Porro with that choice, mate. G-Teen says, hi James, do Salah or Saka or no? Do Salah or Saka or no? Is that Salah to Saka, Saka to Salah, Salah and Saka? What does it mean, mate? I would not sell Mo Salah this week. That's what I think you're asking. Gavin Richardson says, hey up you Walter snob. Your words, it's true. Drop one of Senesi, Chalobah, Timber or Gabriel. Because of minute safety, it's Gabs, yes? Smash a like and stay hydrated. Cheers. Drop one, as in not play one. But Gabriel's not going to be a one-pointer in the sense, like, he's not going to come on as a sub with 10 minutes to go, right? I think the answer there is Senesi, but I'm very reluctant to tell people not to play Senesi. Friend of Staffis, whose name I've seen different letters. I don't know if you're Staffis' friend or not. Thoughts on wildcard 10 versus 13. Helps team value. Bench boost 11. Gets me an extra Palace and Chelsea player versus extra info and giving a last chance to some players. Sounds like you want confirmation bias, mate. I thought about it more today. And Gameweek 10 wildcard is not going to be for me. No. I'll be sticking to 13. Rotterdam Tourist Board says FPL Raptor has Gabriel injured in his stream headline. Is that right? I'm not on Ross's stream, so I don't want to misquote anyone. Maz Asif says, hi James, start Goo or Rangers? Goo. Jay Lee says, start Jokeres. We'll take a -4 for Mike Wazowski. Isn't Mike Wazowski the one-eyed green guy from Monster Inc? Is that correct? I think it is, isn't it? With what's the baby's name? With Sully and Boo. Oh, Boo, bless her. Cheery FPL. Hi James. Really stuck on what to do with the Gabriel news. Do you think I should bring in Enzo, sell Anderson, jock him, and bench boost with Gabriel, or use 4 free transfers and bringing in Saka, Enzo, Krupi, and Kane? I don't know why the last bit doesn't have a bench boost part to it, and also I don't know what you're selling. But yeah, sure. Look, put it this way: if you're going to put Krupi in your team, pal, it's a bench boost this week, isn't it? Because you might not be able to do it after this week. So if you buy Krupi, that's pretty straightforward, mate. Nigel Sam says, have Enzo and Gabriel with 2 free transfers. Was planning on getting rid of bench boost. Is it better to save the bench? Thanks. Good luck. Moving on. Cherie says, sell Isak for Voltamade. Get Gakpo throw. Doesn't say, yeah, Voltamade is fine. Brandon says, evening, James. Is Casado to Enzo to make Rangers to 8 for tackle a good move sideways? I think Rangers is a bit expensive for an 8 for attacker at this stage of a season. That might develop where it's okay, but it doesn't feel quite right to me at the moment. That Josh King has some decent fixtures coming up, for example. I wouldn't go from. I don't know if I'd go Casado to Enzo Fernandez. That doesn't feel right to me, mate. George von Schreiber says, "Hi James. Sorry if it's on the bench in dilemmas. Would you play Tarkovsky or Rodon? They're both there, mate." Ayub Seller says, "Play Munoz or Goodmanson." Munoz. Eddie R says, "Hey James, 2 free transfers, 0.2 million in the bank at the moment. I'm starting either Sarr or I presume that's Elliot Anderson. Would you do Anderson and Porro to Enzo and Rodon? Then bench Sarr. Defense would be VDV, Rodon, Gabriel, or just roll. Cheers, roll." LP says, "Hi, James." He's going to be lots of roll answers here. LP says, "Hi, James. Keeping Watkins this week with the intention to sell next week. Would you play him over Porro?" Yeah. Also play Dewsbury Hall or Stack. Thanks. Dewsbury Hall, I do think there's a chance Stack. I haven't got him in my predicted leads team. I do think there's a chance that Tanaka might come in for him based on Daniel Farke's comments that he'd kind of been struggling a little bit. He's as far as we were aware, he's fit, but he has been playing with an issue. Dermot Whelan says, "Hi James, somehow have Vigario in net. Move to Sanchez this week or just play Dubravka. Thanks." Again, like if Tottenham did go to Everton and win 1-0 as per Vicario on Wednesday night in Monaco, there's all potential there, isn't there? Goalkeeper change. Ironically, a player we never speak about at the moment is Dean Henderson. It's because there's so many other Palace assets. I just wonder if that's a solution for you from next week, maybe. Would I play Dubravka over Vicario? Yes, on that one. Yes, I probably would. Would I transfer to Sanchez? No, look at the shit goalkeepers I've got, mate. I'd rather use transfers elsewhere. Mind you, I'd be in a lot better position if I'd had Nick Pope and a 4.0 goalkeeper this season. Tom says, "Hi James, is bench boost in Dubravka, Estev, Diouf and Enzo worth it? I don't own Gabriel." Wouldn't matter if you did, mate. I mean, if Enzo Fernandez is in your weakest 4 players this week and you intend to bench him legitimately, then you must have some absolute wonder team, Tom. In any case, yeah, I'd get rid of it. James Wright says, "Bench 1, Casado, Ismail Assar, Sade, Mateta." Sade could have some joy against Bradley. Potentially. Benching Casado doesn't, because Casado is so consistent, you expect him to hit DEFCONs. Doesn't feel right benching him. He's going to be the best DEFCON player in the game, I think. Sarr. Dan Stead says, "Evening legend, worth selling Rodgers for." No, I don't like that, you know. Thinking about that more. I don't like that. Yeah, probably. I don't like it, though. Downstairs, evening legend, worth selling Rodgers for Fernandez this week or get Sarr now instead? Just go next week, mate. Probably sell Reinders or Kudus for Sarr next week if I don't buy him now. Cheers, smash the like, folks. So what's happening to Rodgers next week? If you go Reinders or Kudus to Sarr next week, what's happening to Rodgers next week? I think you want confirmation bias there, Dan. So, like, okay, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're getting Sarr for someone else next week. All right, fine. Cool. You can tell I'm convinced. I've completely talked myself out of Enzo Fernandez this week, I think. Alex Ball says, "Hey, pal, on wildcard. Bruno over Bumo." For me, no. No. Nothing wrong with Bruno. I just think the million saving there is worth it. The only addition I'd add to that, Alex, is I'm going to presume on wildcard you've got Saka. If you don't, I'd prefer you went Bruno, just to be closer. Legitimately. Melon Musk says, "Tarkovsky's to 4.5, Richards or Keane, and Rangers Rutter to Enzo for a hit." No, not for me. No. Brandon says, "Start one out of Estev, Richards and Van der Ven." Jeez. Estev, based on my predictions. Yay. Getty says, "Bench boost with Dubravka, Munoz, Reinders and Dewsbury Hall." What you playing for all these guys to be on the bench? Like, it's fine. I just wonder if what you've got on the bench there might not be a better week coming up. I can't see the rest of your team. Please don't post it. Podner says, "Which goalkeepers start? Dubravka or sells?" Dubravka. Gavin Richardson is Nick Voltemade, the most fun player to watch in the Premier League, or am I just biased? You're just biased, mate. You're just biased, Gavin. what you haven't done is watched some of the fun players at Tottenham, mate, because that'll give you some entertainment. Yeah, he's up there at the moment for, his individuality and his team play. So, yeah, I saw someone mention Berbatov in relation to him at the weekend. Different, but I get the kind of the feeling about that, let's say. And Man Khan says, hi James, should I roll to bring in Keane to be first on bench, Gabriel and Vardio in the starting 11? Michael Keane first sub, good position this week. Yeah. Dan says, hi James, I'm on wildcard this week and thinking of punting Bijou with the view to play him this week with Munoz on the bench. Thoughts, cheers. No. Look, there's a number of Leeds fans, and then there's me as well, also think like, surely. But as I said on the Team News stream I did for advanced tier patrons a couple of hours ago, it's the third time I've sat here and gone, I think he's going to play now. Like, if you wildcard and that's wrong, what if he never gets in? It's not worth it, mate. Twanzebe, 3.9. Kalle Hoster might also come out of the team. I don't think he does. Kalle Hoster says, who would you start? Sarr or Reinders, or maybe even sell Reinders? If sell, who to buy? 6.5 for transfer. Does that get you Declan Rice or not? If it gets you Declan Rice, I'd be very tempted by that. Rafa Hamduk says, would you play a Leeds defender over Reinders? No. Project FPL, would you do Pedro Porro, Elliot Anderson and Salah out, bringing in Timber, Daniel James and Enzo? Already have Gabriel and Raya, or skip Timber, go for Saka, but still bring James. Go for Saka. Bellon says, shit, we have a deadline. I guess it's Anderson out, Van Heck in to start 3 out the next 4. Tommaso Salvadori says, hi James, buy one Trippier, Burn, Botman or Chow, and between Botman and Chow. I'm not quite certain what's going to happen once Hall and Livramento are back, but I'm pretty sure that whatever it is, Burn is a part of Eddie Howe's favourite 11. There's my answer. If you're wildcarding in Game Week 13, I think Trippier short term is pretty good, but beyond that, no. Lemon says, hi James, what do you think of Porro, Reinders to Keane, Enzo this week? Oh no, your question's gone from my screen. Followed by, that's okay if they're for free. Followed by Van Dijk, Dewsbury Hall, King to 4.55 and Sarr next week for a -4. Any reason not to do it for a hit? You take the -4 to get another 4.5. Oh, so it's got to be a 4.5 defender and a 5 defender. And shoving about King. I'm not sure I love that. Just getting to Wolves at home next week. It's like finally time maybe to use him. I'm not loving it. The moves now are okay. But again, if you just went Porro to Keane and just sat there with Reinders for the minute, are you going to find next week maybe, okay, Reinders to Sarr next week, just leave Enzo maybe, and then chop in something else like Virgil van Dijk to Munoz, just look at different routes. David Kent says, afternoon James, not sure whether to start Sarr or Longstaff. What's your view? Cheers, Sarr. For Greendale says, yes James, could you list your top 100 Prem goals of all time in order, Premier League era only? Yes, I can. No, I think I would probably piss a lot of people off here, but yeah, we could, podcast one day maybe. Probably on Patreon. Liam Brankin says, hi James, would you ever make early transfers if you'd priced out a waiting? I'm thinking of when the deadline is up, doing Foden and Gyökeres to Mateta and Saka, and bang on the money now. Thoughts? No. So, different. So, would I do early transfers? Yes, absolutely. So, here's an example, right? Hypothetical, very, very unlikely, right? But West Ham go and win 4-0 tonight, and Jared Bowen gets hat-trick. Okay? Yeah, stop laughing, I know, right? Suddenly, next week, what's the questions going to be in my stream? Oh, Bowen, right? Now, under that circumstance, West Ham ain't got a game for 8-9 days. Buy him. No problem. Mateta's got to get through Arsenal away and Liverpool away. And Saka weren't in training photos today. So there's nothing wrong with an early transfer. It's being cautious. It's about understanding what's to come in the week ahead. Mateta could play 90 minutes against this is real. played 90 minutes at Arsenal. Unlikely, but it could be possible. 90 minutes at Arsenal, 90 minutes at Liverpool. Absolutely shattered, and Kesha plays against Brentford. Glasner don't want to rotate the team. Look at the team last night. So just realistically, it's like, and I get it. It's like, I want those two players. And I absolutely understand that. But I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be. There's a chance here that I'm going to be priced out of a couple of things in sort of, probably not tonight, but probably tomorrow night. Now that I've gone Timber rather than Calafiori, I'm okay with that. And this will be players who are not playing till Sunday and probably got a game next midweek. Now, I'm going to wait at the moment. Elliot says, bigger sell, Rangers or Paquetá? Probably Rangers, because if you went Paquetá, you chose a path that I presume was going to end in Gameweek 12. Eddie R says, hey James, 2 free transfers, 0.2 in the bank. At the moment, starting either Sarr or Anderson. Why does this look so familiar? Would you do Anderson and Porro to Enzo and Rodon, then bench Sarr? Defense would be Vida. Yeah, I've done this. I know I have. Just holding up other people, Eddie. OG FPL, start one of Tosin or Yoro. Also have Gabriel, who... Yeah, who? I'd play Tosin, mate. Chance it. Thomas Thornton, non-FPL, what is your favourite ever football shirt? Spurs or non-Spurs or both? My favourite ever football shirt is Tottenham Hotspur away shirt, 2000-2001 season. Perfect away shirt. Perfect. Absolutely perfect away shirt. And I don't know if we ever won in it, and I'm not joking, but a brilliant shirt. KP says, hi James, navy blue by the way, if I didn't say. KP says, hi James, I can't believe I've left myself with this. Pick one to start please. Stack, Lacroix, Richarlison. Thanks, here I have a cracking weekend. Richarlison. It's the right answer, isn't it? Scored twice last time he played Everton away. I think that's right. Oh no, maybe not. In fact, he scored as a substitute there last year and scored twice the year before. There you go. Didn't celebrate any of them. They probably won't celebrate tomorrow either. I would, though. Alex Ball says, how about the Owls? Great that the owner is gone, but we are effectively relegated. Hope you do a piece on it. Yeah, we've done a few bits on money in football, Alex. And we're obviously following it. I think it's a painful one for Wednesday fans. But ultimately, the main thing is that you people, including yourself, get your football club back. And I think... ultimately, whatever was going to happen this year was always highly likely to be relegation, and it probably still will be. Who knows? Something miraculous might happen, but the most important thing is that the people can feel like they can go and support their football club again moving forward, and that's even because it's probably going to be a little bit of a slow process, but that's the most important thing, mate. You've been in League One before, you come back. Shani Russell says, Big James, you absolute legend. No questions purged. Just need the customary noggin rub to bring us some luck from the FPL gods. Have a top weekend, you legend. Do you think anyone listens to this and think this fucking bald bastard rubs his head every week and I don't get no luck? There must be. Oh, no. Do you think there's other people who think, oh, shit, if I see James rub his head, I've got to turn the channel off? Jerry Damayu says, hello, Jimbo. I have 2 free transfers, 0.9 in the bank. Thoughts on Rangers to Minter with 1 free transfer due to the Dutchman's minutes. Is there a case to sell Vardy? I already have Ray and Gab, so can't get Timber. What do we mean by his minutes? Got a break in midweek. It's near certain start of Sunday. Or have I missed something in the thread here? Yeah, Rangers played 20 minutes as a substitute in the week as a little bit of a rest, and he's going to play on Sunday. I'm fairly certain of that. No? What am I missing here? No. If you want to make that move next week, it's not a move for this week. Evan Lovett says, hi James, I have Gabriel Esteve, Romero, Alderete and Senesi. Alderete and Romero are flagged. Should I sell Romero to Burn or just go Palace defender early? That's your choice, mate. How much does this week matter to you? If this week matters to you a lot, then it's Burn, isn't it? Chance you might be doing something else to a Palace player soon anyway. Camril Islam says, hello James, Foden to Enzo, Gakpo. Have 2 free transfers, Rangers as well. Like and subscribe, guys. Yeah, this one is with Enzo, I like more. I like it more because of the movement of the money that will enable something probably powerful involving Crystal Palace next week. So I like that one more, and I'm going to say yes. Shani Russell says, oh, and exercise those thumbs and drop a like, you freeloaders. Yeah, thumb bashing. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. Jordan Smith says, hi, James. Already have Sarr. Should I move Rangers to Enzo this week? 1 free. Cheers. Do you know what? If people want to move Reinders to Enzo Fernandez, I'm not sitting here saying I don't think Enzo Fernandez is a better asset right now than Reinders. If I was sitting there with Reinders, I'd probably be considering doing it as well. Just sometimes I think pause. Like, is Saar next week? Is that open to you? I would prefer that, I think. Daniel Engley says, hey James, looking ahead to Game Week 16 when receiving 5 free transfers, if you choose to free hit, would you still receive them the following week? Thanks, yes. Yeah, of course. Think about it logically, mate. So Game Week 15 ends, Game Week 16 reopens, you've got 5 free transfers, then you free hit. Who's going to take them from you, mate? They've already given them to you by the time you activate that. Tommaso Salvadori says, hi James, buy one, Trippier, Burn, Botman, Chow, and between, I've already done that. Eddie, which 2 would you start from Champion, Esteval, and Mateta, mate? Champion. The attacking players. Frederick Hertz, bench, Xhaka or Dewsbury Hall? Xhaka. That's a fixture play, isn't it there, James? Shout out to our patrons. If we have got anything from team news, leaks or anything, we're not expecting anything tonight, but drop us a tag on Slack. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. Sorry. Just looking through messages to see if there is anything. Yeah. It's not. Right. Daniel Engley, I've done. Daniel Cullerton, sorry. What current Premier League players do you think will make a good manager? Jordan Henderson for me. It was when I was reading the question, it was the person in my head, mate. So I'm just going to leave it there. Avinash Chowdhury says Saar versus Krupa Jr. Who starts at Krupa? Jacob Frost. I'm bench boosting with Dubravka, Rodon, Reinders, Tarkovsky / Senesi. I have 3 transfers. Would you make any changes with 0.1 in the bank? Would you go Gyökeres and Reinders to Saka and Krupa Jr. Bench him? No, I'd crack on, mate. I think I'd certainly get the appeal of putting Saka in, but I've been consistent on this with Gyökeres that I'd leave him there at the moment if I earned. Harsha says, hello James, Foden to Enzo for free. Yeah, someone else just answered similar. I hope that helped. Andrew Sands, good news story of the week. Tom Lockie returns for Bristol Rovers. Yeah, absolutely. Greg says, make sure you sign up to patrons and watch the best bits video every week. And as Greg hasn't pointed out, but I'll point out, it's already been released. It was released at 4:30 today. The best bits are free, so it's free members. Sign up as a free member. You don't have to pay for it. You can have a look at what's behind the paywall. The only thing that's not on the best bits is the team news stream, which is like this, but a little bit more personal, where there's just about 40 people in there. Greg says, make sure I've done that. In fact, Greg said, make sure you sign up to Patreon to watch the best bits video every week. Mustafa Block says, hi James, who to bench, Lacroix or Saar? I'd play Saar. Who would you bench for Reinders, Enzo or Ndiaye? Who would you get for Reinders? Enzo or Ndiaye? Have 6.8 million, keep him. Got 5 players from the Arsenal. I would go Enzo at this stage. Daniel Scar says, don't have Gabriel, but have Saliba. Is it worth getting him this week or play Diouf and get him next week? Well, I think with the rumours, you don't buy Gabriel this week, do you? Well, let's flip it. What if it's bad? So you don't. It's kind of like the Enzo Fernandez last week. It was like, and I was very tempted to go to Enzo Fernandez last week, as you know. So I can't do that. And it's the same with Gabriel. You're not buying Gabriel now. If people have already done it, it's happened, doesn't it? Will says, hi James, best defender 4.4 under. Already got Rodon, thanks. Twanzebe, cheapest. David Jones Whiteway says, thinking Gordon and King out for Casado and Enzo. Rest of team's amazing. Wow. No, I wouldn't be touching that, mate. You've got the best 4.5 midfielder in the game, and Gordon with a home fixture, I would never really want to move on. Yago says, have Foden and Reinders at the moment. Latter benched for Goo this week for now. Coming in for Gabriel if needed. 4 free transfers. Move Foden to Enzo. Yeah, I've done that. Zubi says, are you planning to have Salah from game week 12? Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. I would like to have Isak at that point, but he's got to prove himself very quick for that to be a possibility. Andrew Sand says, I like you, plan on wildcard 13. By next game week, I'll have 10 players. I'd plan on having on wildcard 13. Is there another wildcard window? Do you think he'll just bite the bullet and make a handful? I think wildcard is pretty limited now to 10 or 13, personally. Huss says, Reinders to Enzo or Romero to Chalobah. To Chalobah. Note, if I do the first transfer, I'd be playing Estev with Richards as Gabriel cover. Draft Alchemy says, howdy, James. Can I get a quick seal it top, mates? Seal it top. Taylor Bernard says, hi, James. I'm on bench boost even with Gabriel. Yeah, sold Salah to Saka with the intention of upgrading Go. My final 3. Leave Goo this week. Getting second. Yeah, leave Goo this week. Like, you should play, man. Leave it. Julius Knit says, hey, mate, I hope you had a good week. What are your thought process with going Timber over Calafiori? Very close. And I also want to be very honest with you and say I thought about it for about 10 minutes properly today. And what I concluded in those 10 minutes was that I need a choice for 4 weeks only. And over the space of those 4 weeks, with the way Arsenal's fixtures land, I'm confident that Timber plays possibly them all. With maybe one benching at Burnley as a possibility. Calafiori situation does feel like, under circumstances here with Nkapi and Lewis Skelly, there's just a little bit more. And I think the distance between Arteta wanting to leave out, play White over Timber, is not as close as it is with Lewis Skelly or Hincapi potentially covering for Calafiori. Ultimately, that was the decision. Because as I said on Monday, I said on the eye, it's telling me Calafiori. 4 game weeks. With Konsa and Wan-Bissaka, I didn't want to be pissing about so much, really. So I took that route. But if you have a preference for Calafiori, I have no problem with that. Pip says, yo, James, Jorginho a decent differential this week? I'll play Goodmanson a 4-3-3. That's Jorginho Rutter, I presume. Yeah, I mean, if I had Rutter, I'd probably play it, yeah. Casey Wolf, hi, James. Gordon to Enzo or roll with it. Yeah, take your time. Ryan Allen says, Rodon of... Imagine if he didn't get that. Yeah, roll. Ryan Allen, Rodon or Virgil? Virgil. Huss says, who would you play out, Mateta or Saar? Mateta. Neil Kager, hit the like, people. I mean, come on. Haswold says, hi, James. Would you play Reinders or Anthony? Ooh, I mean, Wolves are so bad at the moment. That, yeah, I probably would go Jaden Anthony, actually. I mean, if he's there and you've bought him in, presumably, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to play him against Wolves. Yeah, I'd probably play him. Who's next? Shit, lost my place. Where's fucking Jaden Anthony gone? There he is. Johnny 5. Hello, James. Anderson being out this week with hamstring, in your opinion, even minor hamstrings, how long until a player returns to 90 minutes? I mean, if it's just hamstring tightness, he could be back next week, particularly as a centre-back. But that I'm not no expert in that. But yeah, I mean, most people do hamstrings. You're looking at minimum 2-3 weeks. So next week, 2 weeks. Ian Park, hi James, play Goodmanson or Virgil. Just done that. Bailey A says bench to Aporo, Diaf, Watkins, Dewsbury Hall, play the attackers. Maz Asif says hi James, start Goo or Reinders. Let's go. Daniel Lund, bench 1, Gabriel Calafiori or Munoz. Jay Barker, Evan Nielsen to Krupi or Goo. Anderson to Saka, good moves. Yep. L1IAM23S. Hey James, benching Dilemma Anthony or Reinders. Just done that for someone else. Is it your burner accounts? Charles John says, keep or sell Eze, best defender to replace Anderson. If I had Eze, I'd be leaving that at the moment and hoping he moves back into that left half space I discussed on Monday's pod. Draft Alchemy, Tarks and Ndai or Keane and Semenyo. Tobias Sven says, start tossing on Mateta. Mateta. Mothroll says, good day from Australia. Start Goodmanson or Van der Ven. God, Goodmanson. Theo2303, hey James, hope you have a nice weekend. Looking to transfer out Doco for 7 million under. Everyone seems to be going for Enzo. Any interesting alternatives? Declan Rice is the other name that I will throw into that at the moment. Shivam Modi says bench 1, Thiago, Minter or Saar. Thiago Brentford. Saar. Felix Hop says, hi James. Richarlison, Reinders, Richards to Krupi, Enzo, Reece James. Have 4 transfers to use. Josh King would become 7th attacker. You've got 8. So who's the bloody 8th? Not keen on that. Jigsaw Kid 95. Anderson to Gabriel or VVD to Gabriel and keep some money in the bank. Oh, God. Anderson to Keane and wait. Raj Chusky says, best Chelsea defender apart from James, Chalobah. Jake says, happy Friday. Make Casado to Enzo worth it or two sideways. Have Gujal, Pedro. Someone has to make way. Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I'd just leave her be. We're about a minute the deadline, guys. Nothing coming in potential leaks. Not that we was expecting anything tonight. Nothing. Next up is Raj Merzem, Dubravka, Ray. I'd never be benching Ray, I don't think, mate. My bar maybe like a Liverpool away. Shrufwan, start Saar, mate, over sack. Andrew Brown, any buzz for trips this week ahead of wildcard 13? Yeah, it's covered for someone else. Like for short term, you wildcard in 13, yeah, I don't mind trips. Raj says, Anderson's a champion for free, worth it. Yeah, I mean, it's going to open up some money, so it's okay. It was a sort of move, like I said, from a concert to him, yeah, it was a consideration. Don't do it from one of the big ones. Elipus Banda says, hi James, his bench boost, Dubravka, Rodon, Porro and Elliot Anderson worth it. Gabriel's my only real concern in my starting 11. I'm going to say yes. One thing I will at least do on these streams is try and be consistent. That is deadline done. We are all locked in. I wish you all the very, very best of luck. If you came just for the FPL stuff, smash a like, hit the sub button, have a great weekend. See you on the Game Review podcast or see you on the Deadline stream if that's all that you're here for, which will be at 12:30 p.m. UK time next Saturday. Deadline is 1:30 p.m. UK time next Saturday. If you've got any non-FPL questions, throw them in the chat. I'll cover a few off for 10-15 minutes, but I want to go home and see me boy before I watch West Ham get slaughtered again. If you want to support the show, or can support the show even, www.patreon.com/planetfpl. As I said, as a free member, you get a look at the best bits, see what kind of goes on behind the paywall. It's not long, it's only like 12 minutes or so this week. There's a half-hour one for 2 weeks worth from the week before if you want to watch that. It's for free to sign up as a free member. You get a flavour from that. From basic tier, you get no ads content. From Basic Plus, you get access to Slack community, my planner, and an additional podcast every week. All the podcasts available at intermediate tier, and advanced tier, you get all the additional video content, which includes things like away days and my trip to Monte Carlo and Monaco, team news streams on a Friday, the midweek dilemma, Nico's corner, Zoom call once a week, me and other advanced tier patrons. Get yourself a part of the community. www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Do it if you want to support the show or you would like access to the additional content, or if you'd also like access to our community and get yourself off of Twitter, which is largely what I advise. You won't miss anything on Slack. If there's news, the patrons will know about it. And that's why I always say on these streams, patrons, let me know because they don't miss a thing. They're brilliant. www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Whilst I wait for questions, just a bit of an update on content for next week. So Game Review podcast Monday. Clayton's in the house. Well, he's not in the house. He's fucking cut 1,000 miles away. But Clayton and James show on Tuesday. Clash of Correspondence next week is on Wednesday. It's Liverpool versus Aston Villa with Dan Lord and Lee Jackson. Ask James will be Thursday. It's going to be similar to how it was this week. It's going to be quite late in the day. Possibly 3:30 again. I think I get off a train coming back from Newcastle around about 1:30 at King's Cross, so it's going to be similar time. Keep an eye out on the schedule. We'll post Sunday night or Monday morning. Weekend of myself, David, Friday. The podcast for patrons next week will be Q&A Monday, Tottenham Tuesday, Money in Football Wednesday. No doubt be some Chef Wednesday on there, I think. Thursday, what's happening Thursday? Oh, quiz. Milan Rashavi's hosting a quiz for me. And we'll have our Game Week 10 preview podcast on Friday. The advanced tier content includes 2 away days, Everton and Newcastle this week. Yeah, because you can tell I'm really looking forward to going to Everton, actually. I'm just not looking forward to seeing that fucking team again, basically. They're depressing. Midweek dilemma, Nico's corner, and team news stream as well. Right, that's the content for next week. Non-FPL, I'll do some cues till these team lineups come out for tonight. Right, let's see what we've got. Mark, non-FPL. Can you see Newcastle using 3-5-2 formation? Yes, on occasion. Yeah, sure. I mean, we've seen back fives this year, or back threes. But normally, it's most commonly operated with 2 in the middle. So I think it's something Newcastle probably more liable to look at if they lost Joe Linton, Tonali, or Gimrez for maybe like a sustained period, or even just for an individual week. The two, if you're asking the question, you think, oh, Vissa and Voltemade in the long term, yeah, I think that still needs a Gordon there. So if it was to be a 2 up front, I'd still think Gordon's one of the two, actually. So more likely to be more like a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-3 is probably more likely. Sebi, thank you for your question. I wish you the very best of luck. I'm not doing any more FPL, mate. Zayn Ali says, hi, James. What's your favourite and least favourite bottled water? Evian is the favourite. I am a snob when it comes to water. I am. You know, some people do certain things and they put you on alert. Like, there's no real reason for it, but you like, ooh, not sure about that person because they do such and such a thing. Yeah, that's how I feel about people who drink fucking Volvic. I don't know how anyone chooses Volvic. I don't know. It's awful. I don't understand that. Please tell me in the chat if you drink, like, expose yourselves in the chat if Volvic is your water of choice. It's never the choice. If I went in a shop and the only water there was Volvic, I wouldn't buy it. I'd go to a different shop. Good question. Daniel Mackey says Monsters Inc. is the best 2000 kids film. Discuss. Yeah, okay with that. Yeah, that Toy Story. There's plenty of other good ones I imagine that escape me at the moment. Yeah, I'll go Monsters Inc. Yeah, why not? Decent shout. Arma Jawadi says heard Stack not starting. We'll see, but it wouldn't be a huge shock, as I mentioned earlier on the stream. Chromo Clash, do you think if Maguire played in the 90s, he would be considered one of the best defenders in the world? No, he wouldn't. I'm trying to think of a good example to explain this. I'll use an example, and I'll use an Arsenal example. I don't know if Tony Adams was ever considered world class. I don't know. He would have been in Arsenal circles. He's a legend of the club, etc. I would have been too young at the time, but I don't imagine Tony Adams would have ever been in the conversation to be named as world class. I don't think so. There is no world where I would put Harry Maguire in a conversation alongside Tony Adams. Now, you could break that down. Maguire might even have more caps for England than Tony Adams now. I don't know. I also don't care. Tony Adams is much better. So there's a comparison for you that I'd go on. And it's not even intentional using an Arsenal one to prove a point. Just that's just generally how I felt about Tony Adams. I was delighted when he stopped playing for Arsenal because he was a pain in the ass. He was very good at what he did. If someone said to me, who was better between Adams and Maguire, I think I would just laugh. And do you know what I mean? So there you go. Free says non-FPL, win FPL or a bit part on EastEnders. I'm from Liverpool, so I find this funny. Win FPL or a bit part on EastEnders. How big's the bit part? Like, do I get like a good wife and shit like that? Because if that's the case, then sign me up on it. But that's probably not a bit part, is it? That's win FPL, isn't it? I think that's probably the first time anyone's ever asked me one of them questions. I've gone, yeah, actually win FPL. Theo says favorite food. I'll eat anything as long as it's not too spicy. Favorite food. What would I choose? I mean, like last meal comes up a lot. I would choose chicken on Tottenham High Road, which I managed to get a mention during away days in Monaco. You won't find chicken in Monte Carlo, I can tell you. But I'm good kebab. You get me a good kebab, I'm well happy, mate. So I'm going to say that. David James Whiteway says, good to see different teams at the top of the championship. Yo-yo teams getting boring. Hope the 3 relegated teams fail. Harsh. I don't, because I think all of Southampton, Leicester and Ipswich I quite like as away days. Particularly Ipswich is really, really handy because it's not far at all. But Coventry coming up, yeah, I think would be nice. I will say that. And I went there last year. It's a bit of a pig to get to from the train station, but it's not that far. Yeah, Coventry coming up, I think, would be nice. I think those who've followed and supported that club and remember the bits like, watching them play at Northampton Town, this is home games and stuff like that. Yeah, they'll deserve it, I think. And they're doing very well at the moment. FPL Eze says, heard on the weekend that you think both Forest and Brentford will be fine. So who are your picks to get relegated? Wolves, Burnley. This is now. I think that was a really big win for Sunderland at the weekend. I think they should be all right, but they've given themselves a distance. All they've got to do is just kind of tick over. They don't have to do anything mad, Sunderland, from here. How many games have we got left? 20... Oh, God, terrible maths, James. 29 games? Is that right? No, it's 30 games, isn't there? What am I talking about? 30 games. So if Sunderland they're on 14, I think, I want to say. Or they're on 16, Sunderland. No, they're not on 16. They're on 14, aren't they? If they got 0.5 points per game for the rest of the season, that put them on 29. So if we start getting into the reach of towards 1 point a game from 30, we're going to be on 44 points, aren't they? So they don't have to do nothing spectacular. From now to the end of the season, somewhere in the region of 0.8 points per game would be enough for Sunderland to stay up. When you start breaking that stuff down, you look at Wolves on 2 points and stuff, right? This other team's got to work harder. So I think they'll probably be okay. I get nervous for them if they get a lot of injuries. But I think the team that they've invested in is doing well, clearly. Wolves, Burnley, unfortunately. And that other game is a real 6-pointer tonight. Because if West Ham continue to repeat what we saw on Monday night, they will go down. Don't matter what Bowen does, he won't save them. That's all over the place. Now, at the moment, I would deem that as probably a one-off. And the other teams down the bottom would die to have a player like Bowen. And I recognise that. And we know that Nuno can sort it out. So I think it'll be one of those two. Yeah, I think Brentford will be all right. I think Forest will be okay as well. I looked through that spine, as I said, like Murillo, Anderson, Gibbs, White. Squad depth, they really shouldn't. They really shouldn't go down. The weakest bit of them at the moment is the defence, because that's the bit where it's limited in terms of availability, Aina, Zinchenko injured, etc. But Dyche should sort that. Even a Sean Dyche team can't not score goals with some of their attacking players. So it should be all right, I think, Forest. Greg says, best crosser in Premier League history apart from Steve Guppy. Got to be Bex, isn't it? I think so. Whether dead ball or open ball, if you said get the cross in, Bex, I think. King of Mandalore, shower routine. Can't say that, mate. Turn tap on. Get in. Get clean. Get out. Dry. Headley M says, can Kane or Haaland win Ballon d'Or next? Of course it can, yeah. I mean, if either of them won the Champions League, you'd have to say at the moment that if Bayern won the Champions League, Harry Kane would be massively in contention, wouldn't he? And I'm sure it's the same for City and Haaland as well, right? So, would help if Kane had another good had a good World Cup as well. But yeah, of course they could. We're not in a Messi or Ronaldo era anymore. We might be in a Lamine Yamal era in a few years. Hanzo Hasashi says, evening James, what does clear and obvious even mean, and why is it a thing? Shouldn't VAR just make the correct call regardless? But not every call is the correct call. So just a basic example would be, there's a debate on a foul in the penalty area. You think it's a penalty, I don't, as an example. Referee shouldn't be changing their mind. That's clear and obvious. Now, if we see a decision and we all go, yeah, has to be, it's the correct decision, then it's clear and obvious, isn't it? And that's when, if you're going to operate VAR, that's when we should be involved. It's not debatable ones. I said on Monday's podcast about the Senesi red card, and I was looking at the chat on our patrons, and most of our patrons thought it was a red card. And I thought, we've been lucky then. And I saw it back that night, and I thought, I don't think it is. So then that's not a red card. Now, also at the same time, if it had been given a red card, I'm not saying overturn it. It's subjective. So some things don't have clear and obvious. Some things that some things aren't like black and white. It can be a foul, and it's like I don't think it's a foul. I do think it's a foul. So it's where we need clear and obvious. Cole Slipper says, "Hi James, non-FPL. What do you think of Lewis Miley? You feel he could have a big season for Newcastle?" I saw quite a bit of him when he had to play 2 seasons. It's coming up to 2 years ago now. When he had to play quite a bit when he was 17, I thought he was fantastic in the first few games or so. It was like, wow, what a talent they've got here. And I want to say he's still only maybe 19. He obviously got thrust into a position that he shouldn't have to be in. And I would say since then, he's probably not excelled in the same way, but it's not a surprise. I definitely think there's a talent there. It looks like he played the 6th position in the week. I didn't see any of the game, but I understand he played quite well. I know our Newcastle patrons are kind of calling for his involvement more and more. There's definitely a very talented footballer. Ali, Buxton is number 1. No, not having that, mate. Scosme says tap water is better than Evian. Well, let me move to your country, mate. James Lovegrove says, did you and the old man make race or car noises when you were in the Monaco tunnel? No. Why didn't we? Why didn't we? We did go for it, but no, why didn't we? These teams might be in, so let's have a look, potentially. See what we got. We'll try and see if we can find the Leeds team first. That actually feels more relevant at the moment. Captain Hindsight says, James, you legend. Hope you were. If you could go on a stag do with 4 footballers to Las Vegas, who would you go with? Love you and the content, pal. 4 footballers. I'd take 4 Arsenal players, and I'd get them on drugs and everything, like they get suspended for the rest of the season, mate. Yeah, mate, it needs must at this stage. I know that's not what you meant by the question. Current footballers. You'd have to, I'll try and go neutral on this. Jack Grealish. Lad, isn't he? Go on, Jack. Jack Grealish. I'm trying to one of ours would be good. I think someone like Richarlison, actually, for all the criticism, I think someone like Richarlison would be like really fun. Pedro Porro has always got a very happy personality, I think. Something like that. Do you need a hard case as a bit of protection? Would you take like Slabhead? Would you take like Maguire, for example? There's got to be harder players than that, isn't there? Yeah. It would be like the brick shit house of the league. You'd be like, yeah, gotta take them. Let me think about that. Leeds team. Bijou does play. He's in for Stark. Tanaka is in for Stack. The only change to the 11 that I had up, which will show you, is Okafor has made it. So Okafor is in. Aronson does start again. So it's the 2 wide players. Okafor and Aronson. Otherwise, it's the same as what's on screen. I do have Lucas Perry in goal this week. So what minute do we think that the Leeds clean sheet gets blown out? We'll have a quick look at the West Ham team. I can't think of any good shit houses. Let's go. Big, powerful player. No. West Ham. So looks like I would say looks like Oliver Scholes at left back. Oh no, sorry, I'll take that back. Diouf is playing. Okay, so we've got Scholes, Tadibo, Kilman, Wan-Bissaka, and Diouf. He's gone Souček and Irvin again. Somerville, Bowen, Paquetá. Yeah, that's a to be confirmed. Diouf. Could Diouf be left wing here? Somerville at 10. Bowen right. Paquetá. I felt that's what they were trying to do at the start of the game Monday night, was Paquetá and Somerville. Somerville off the ball was really chasing after Brentford's midfield 2 and going into more central zones. I wonder if he's going to pick up a more central role here. Could it be that? I guess Oliver Scholes could play higher up as well, but maybe make more sense. Diouf left wing, Somerville 10. Oh, okay, intrigued. Yeah, I tell you what I would say. I don't think Suja's going to be happy with that, but we'll see. Right, questions, and then I'm going home. Right, where was we? I'm going to skip Captain Ironside, but thank you for question. JB says, hi James, love your work. Are all football grounds smoke-free zones once you enter, or do they have designated smoking areas? The inside is all no smoking, no vaping and stuff. There's certain grounds that you can get out at half time if you want to have a smoke. I can't think of any off the top of my head now, actually. West Brom was always one. But quite often they let you out if the concourse, if there's too many people for the concourses, like West Brom concourse and the away end's not big enough for the volume of people in there. So they let you out. So you're still like contained like in a fence area, but you're outside. West Brom's one. Reading, I feel like another one. I'm trying to think Premier League ones. If there's anyone lets you out half time. Palace, you've got a bit of an outdoor space, so you could comfortably get away with it, I think. Where else? There's not many. I don't know if Bournemouth would do it or not. They might. I'm not sure. Forest, I think you can. I didn't go last year. I think Forest. I think you can get out. This is just half time specifically, by the way. You can get out. Fulham is kind of outdoors. You probably get away with it, but technically no. Not many others, I don't think. No, not many. Generally, as a rule of thumb, other than a few will let you out at half time, but it's more for safety reasons rather than they know people will then smoke if they let them outside. But yeah, most are a no. Interesting question. Zayn Ali says, is that hatred only for normal Volvic, or do you also hate any of the flavoured Volvics? Do you prefer still water or sparkling? Sparkling one? What's all that about? Oh, sparkling water. No, mate. Sorry. That would be the worst thing in the world. Flavoured sparkling Volvic water. No, not having that. If my wife brings that home, that's game, mate. I'm taking the kid. Rob Pick says, the disrespect to flavoured Volvic. Really? Is this a thing? Ryan says, the strawberry one is so good. Right, okay. I'm not having it. I've had flavoured waters. I'm not having it. Sorry. No. Rob Pick says, are you up to date on Traitors? What an incredible show. What happens next? Love the question, Rob. Stick it in the Q&A for Monday. Just because I can say to people on the Q&A, right, pause or whatever, or I can put it in the title, Traitor spoilers or whatever. I'm aware that some people might be watching this and might not be up to date. But yeah, it is brilliant. I love it. Gavin Richardson says, win FPL or Love Island. I love Ireland. Yeah. Imagine me winning Love Island. What I've done, Gavin, there is, if I've won Love Island, I've got a different body, haven't I? Let's be honest. So I'm taking Love Island. Alan Reed says, non-FPL, favourite sports movie, TV show, not full-on documentary, even sports adjacent. God, mouthful. Favourite sports movie, TV show. Monday Night Raw. I can't think of any. Sports, TV, question of sport back in the day. Gwyn Evans says, Spurs win the league or win FPL. Stop it, Gwyn. Sit down. Do you know which one's more likely? It's actually Spurs winning the league, mate. Not this year, by the way. I'm not winning FPL this year. This isn't a question, mate. I'd rather Tottenham won on Sunday than one FPL, mate. Sean Cadian says, how different are your 30s as compared to your 20s? Whatever comes to your mind. I turned 28 last month. Wow. I tell you what I'd say. I'm not going to get deep on this, but we had a kind of a conversation about this on Nico's Corner for Advanced Tier Patrons on Monday. And for Advanced Tier Patrons, you really should listen to last week's Nico Corner because I say way too much. To be honest, I would say, like, you obviously with time you grow up and you become a bit more experienced. You don't necessarily become a better person always. You become a bit more experienced, a bit more wiser. But the big change for me had nothing to do with my age. My wife getting pregnant was the biggest change in my life, right? So if that had happened in my late 20s, I think the stuff that's happened in the last 6-7 years would have just happened earlier for me. I think so. Because I couldn't carry on the lifestyle that I was having prior to that, right? So that's the biggest change. Yeah, got a little one now, right? 7 in like just over 2 weeks. What the fuck? Gavin says, are you coming up to Newcastle for the big cup game next week and to watch Big Nick if he's not rotated? Fucking hope he is. We've still got no chance. Yep, tickets come through. Looks like I'm up the back in the corner, mate. So I'm quite happy we're on the corner because obviously we've got 5,000 coming up. You don't normally get the corner. Yep. I'll be up. I'm all booked for the league game in December as well. What am I doing? It's like people must look at me and think, James, you do know the worse you get, the more regular you go. And I'm like, Yep, got it. Gavin says, what's your favourite Greg's pasty or sausage or other? I can't decide between Cornish. I'm not huge on that kind of stuff. Get me in Greg's and sausage roll and I'm very happy, mate. Free says, James, how do I pay for this? So what does that say? It's the first time I've ever been on a stream and thought I've got really old. So empty becking name turns up. I'd like to cultivate a relationship with those in the south of London. What? Is that south of London? Are we trying to be funny here? What? Is this a YouTube question? I don't know how this works. This is all Captain and Nico's work set up in the background. Jammer says, go Blue Jays. Quite on, Jammer. Do you know that I have Blue Jays caps and T-shirts from the World Series victories in shit years 92 and 93, I think. True story. That's my baseball team, mate. David James Whiteway says, been drinking Smart Water for ages, but worried I'm still thinking. Actually, yeah, Smart Water's all right. I'm okay with that. Gavin says, Lewis Miley was overplayed too young and he hadn't finished growing. He's really filled out and is a unit. We don't want another Elliot Anderson-like scenario. No, you don't. Greg says, Milenkovic was... Yeah, Milenkovic is a good shout, Greg. Yeah, I'm on board with that. That's a good shout. Cole Slipper says, Lascelles a big unit to have a security. Big tasty, innit? Theo 2303, 75th minute leads West Ham 3-1. Okay. Matt Martin says, do you think Nuno picked that line up Monday with getting training to be better, despite knowing he was giving a game away? I might misunderstanding that slightly. There was a little bit of a fault that some of the selections that he'd made were due to having more time training with other players. And I get that, but it wasn't like an all-in strategy. It didn't make sense. Like if the game had been Saturday, Diaz played 2 games in African qualifying. All right, game's not till bloody Monday, mate. Come on. Draft Alchemy, very fair suggestion. Could be Wan-Bissaka centre back, Diouf and Skulls wing back. Yeah, but if Skulls right wing back, I'm really sorry. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel really sorry for the kid if he's going to have to play out there again. Vindaloo says, for security, I'd take Souness even in his 60s. Yeah, but Souness might get you in trouble with security. Saint Ali says, currently watching this from Dubrovnik. Have you done many away days in Croatia? No, unfortunately not. I can think of this one time that my team did play in Croatia. They should have handcuffed the fucking manager and left him there. Dan Stairs says, Blue Jays are my baseball team too, mate. My daddy's from there. Jammer says, that's awesome, James. Thomas Thornton says, bloody hell. Souness is scary as hell. The video highlights of his tackles is like MMA. And Mark says, would love to know the backstory about your connection to the Blue Jays. Okay, I'll tell you quick, and then I'm going to finish the stream. It's quite a simple one. My great aunt lived there. Cut a long story short, she lived in Toronto. She's long past now, but we flew out there in 90. I think could have been 92. I think 91. Went out there and stayed out there in Toronto for 2 weeks. So my dad like broke into the Sky Dome and stuff. He didn't break in, but he managed to get in and have a look and stuff. My mum weren't happy with him. Went up the oh god, what CN Tower is it? I forget. Well, that's high. Not one for heights. So that's the backstory behind it. I spent 2 weeks in Toronto when I was a kid, and then afterwards they used to send me Toronto stuff. Well, it did for a couple of years anyway. When they won the World Series, it did. Then the World Series ended, and that was it. I think it was a big deal. The only team outside America to ever win the World Series, I think. I want to say that's still correct. Maybe. It might not be, or at least they were the first. That's weird, isn't it, when you think about it? America, you know I love you. World Series. No one's ever won it outside of America. Okay. Dan says, that's awesome, mate. Toronto is an awesome city as well. One of my favourite places anywhere. And yes, the CN Tower is insanely high. It is CN Tower. Thomas Thornton says, good luck this week. We are close in scoring FPL, so I look at your score with interest each week. I won't be looking at yours, Thomas, but I wish you the very best of luck, and I'm sure you'll probably beat me this week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the football tonight. Please be nice to each other. Spend some time with family. Have a great weekend, and join me and Suj for the game review on Monday. Smash a like, hit a sub, support us on Patreon. Ciao for now, everyone. Thanks, guys.